Thanks for joining us for Southwest Minnesota Arts Council's fiscal year 2024 grants. For us, our fiscal year 2024 starts coming up July 1st of 2023 and runs through June 30th of 2024. I am Carolyn Koska. I am the grants administrator here at SMOC. And tonight we're going to talk briefly about SMOC. We're going to look at what kind of grants we have available this year for different kinds of applicants and touch on some things that are new this year, and just go over some general things of what to expect when applying for one of our grants, and talk about the process of applying, what happens after you apply, during your project, etc. We will stop a couple times for questions. Feel free to type things into the chat as soon as you think of them, or we'll open things up for you to ask questions out loud as well a couple times here. So we will get started. So Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, or SMOC, is a nonprofit organization committed to promoting and encouraging the development of the arts in the 18 counties of Southwest Minnesota by serving as a source of funds and technical services which enable local organizations, educational institutions, and individuals to sponsor, create, and promote the arts in their communities. Now here's our region that we cover down in the southwest corner. We're one of 11 regional arts councils that cover the whole state of Minnesota. And our funding comes mostly from the state of Minnesota. We have some funds from their general fund, but the majority comes from the Arts and Cultural Heritage or Legacy Fund. We also get some funding from the McKnight Foundation, which we use for our artist grants, and some dollars also from memberships and donations from around our region. So all applicants to us, whether organizations or individuals, need to be located in our service region, and that is made up of 18 counties, which are Big Stone, Chippewa, Cottonwood, Jackson, Candy, Ojai, Lackawanna, Lincoln, Lyon, McLeod, Meeker, Murray, Nobles, Pipestone, Redwood, Renville, Rock, Swift, and Yellow Medicine, and also 2 tribal nations, Pajutazizi, Upper Sioux community, and Chanshayapee, Lower Sioux community. So you need to be located in one of these areas in order to apply for our grants. And we'll start out first talking about grants for organizations. These are open to 501c3 nonprofit organizations, units of government like county or city government, and also tribal nations. Our art project grant will probably cover most of what organizations are doing. This would cover performances, exhibits, community classes, festivals, things like that. There are probably other things that fit in there, but those are the main things that we see in that grant program. That is available for up to $7,000. Then we have our Quick Support for Organizations grant. That is available for $2,500, and this grant has a monthly deadline. The art project grant has 3 rounds during the year. So this monthly deadline with the Quick Support allows organizations to be a little more flexible and respond to some opportunities as they come up. So the kinds of things you could apply for our Quick Support for Organization grants are small art projects, which are the same kinds of things that we just talked about under art projects. You can do some planning for a public art project. You could do a small equipment purchase. You could do some sort of development for your arts organization, like some strategic planning, board training, bringing in some sort of consultant. Or it could cover costs for an arts organization about to apply for their 501c3 status. Then we have our public art grant. And this is pretty self-explanatory for public art. Usually a city will be the applicant for this, for something like a mural or a sculpture in their community. Then we have our equipment and facilities improvement grants. This is mainly focused on arts organizations, but it can be things from sound or lighting equipment to office technology, to improvements in your space to make things more accessible, those kinds of things. So that is available for up to $10,000. And then we have operating support, which is, again, arts organizations, and they are able to request up to 15 to 35% of their average expenses, depending on their budget size. And that is a 2-year grant, again, to cover operating type expenses. As I'm talking about these, and you're wondering about some important dates regarding these, I will show you later on this evening where you can find our grant calendar that has all these important details on them. Some things that are new for our organization grants this year. Our public art grant used to be the Art Legacy Project grant. And what has changed along with the name is that the public art grant now allows physical public art projects only. We are bringing back the requirement of a 20% cash match. We had been waiving it during the pandemic, and it seemed the time to bring that back. And the deadline also has been moved a little later, so you have a little more time to put things together. So that's all changes from the Art Legacy Project to the public art grant. Then for art project grants, we have 3 rounds per year, and for a very long time, they've all been in the same month of the year, but we have now moved our round 2 deadline from December to November. So that is a month earlier now, just to be aware if you were used to that December round 2 art project deadline. But that November deadline will allow applicants in that round to start their projects by January 1st. For equipment and facilities improvement, previously we have had 2 rounds during the year. This year we are just going to have 1 round, and that is going to be in January. And then overall, for all of our organization grants, we have decided to limit organization funding to $20,000 per year, just to try and spread the money around a little more. And this does not include any operating support money that you are receiving from us. But there is that $20,000 funding limit per year starting this year. Next, we have our grants for schools and youth. Our Arts in the Schools grants are open to public schools and community ed for activities happening in schools. So this is most often used for artist residencies, where you bring an artist in to work with the students in the school for maybe a week, and also arts field trips. And there may be other ideas you have for projects in the schools. If you are a public school or community ed, and you have instead a community project that you want to do, that would be eligible under our art project grant, which we just talked about under organizations. So schools and community ed can apply under either program. It just depends on the nature of the project. Then we have our Art Study Opportunity for Youth grant, and that is for $500 available to youth who are in grades 5 through 12. And this is for them to do some sort of special study if they're going to mentor with a local artist, or maybe go to some kind of arts camp during the summer. So that is available for our youth. New things this year for schools and youth. Big change in our deadlines for the Arts in the Schools grants. We had, for a very long time, had 2 deadlines per year for those. We are now moving to monthly deadlines for those Arts in the Schools grants. And that those deadlines will run from August 1st through May 1st. So we're hoping that will, again, allow for some more flexibility for when people have time to put together an application, and also to take advantage of opportunities that may come up. We're really excited about that change. And then for our Art Study Opportunity for Youth grant program, previously you had been limited to activities within the state of Minnesota. Now we do have some other funding from some donations around our region that we're able to have the option that students can do something outside of the state. Then we have our grants for artists. For all of these, the same kinds of project activities are available. It could be for things like buying supplies or equipment that you need to create your work, for preparing to present your work in some way if you need to record your work, or get things framed. You could take a class or go to a conference, or do something else that sort of helps promote you and your work, like getting a website upgrade, things like that. So those activities are all available under all of these grant programs. Our Artist Growth Grant Program is open to artists at any career level, and that is for $4,000. Our Artist Equity Grant is also open to artists at any level, also for $4,000, but this one is specifically for Black, Indigenous, and other artists of color. Then we have our Quick Support for Artists grant for $1,000. This is another of those monthly grants. So again, you can take advantage of opportunities as they come up. This also allows the option to do a small community project as part of your grant. And then the last one is Advanced Artist Fellowship for $7,000. We are just giving out 2 of these per year, and this is for established advanced artists. They've got a substantial body of work and significant recognition, so really at a high level. But that grant is available for them at $7,000. And new for artists this year, again, we've shifted some funding around so that in each of those programs, there is the option for artists' activities to take place outside of the state of Minnesota. Another thing that we are trying out this year for Artist Equity, which is still a relatively new program for us. We had been trying it out as a monthly deadline, and this year we're going to see what it looks like just having 2 rounds, which will be in September and February. So we're just going to test that out for this year and see what happens with that. All right, some things to be aware of as far as eligibility, and these pretty much apply to any of our grants that you are applying for. We can't fund projects that don't have an art focus, activities of a for-profit project, organization, or business, any kind of fundraising activities. The purpose of the grants is to help your project break even, not to make a profit. And then since most of the money that we are going to be awarding is coming from the state of Minnesota, for our organization and school grants, there is no travel outside of Minnesota, no activities taking place outside of the state. Again, I mentioned that we've been able to open that up a little bit for our artist grants. And then for all of these, you also need to be aware of the earliest allowed start date, which will be on that grant calendar sheet that I'm going to show you in a minute. But basically, each deadline will have a date that nothing for your project can be started before that date. You can't purchase anything. You can't do any advertising. You can't have any auditions. So you need to do a little bit of thinking to make sure that you are aligning with the right deadline that will work the best for your project timeline. So this is just kind of a overview of some of the bigger things to be aware of for eligibility, but please make sure to read the guidelines for the particular grant program that you're looking at. There are a lot of details in there, and we want to make sure that you aren't putting together an entire application and then finding out that something is not eligible. And again, I'll show you where you can look at those in just a moment. Also, for most of these grants, there are some materials that you're going to need to have ready to attach to your application. Whether you are hiring an artist or you are the artist yourself doing a project, we'll need some sort of artist resume or bio. We'll need some samples of the artist's work, which might be images, audio, video, a link to something. So have those available. And then you will also need to have a budget. And we have a form that you can fill out for that. All right, there are multiple ways to get help while you are working on your application. And we actually have just had a redo to our website. So I'm going to give us a little tour here so you can figure out where to find everything. We're hoping that this new navigation will be a little more helpful to people. So you're going to be looking for this grants tab here. And in the drop down right away here, you'll have your login for our online grant system. And then you'll be able to choose what area of grants you're looking at. So here's an example of where we have that grant calendar. I think we've got a link to this on about every page. And you'll see for all of these, it's got all the important dates for the different rounds and just an overview of the amounts and the kinds of things that are eligible under that program. So make sure to grab one of those just to keep track of all of your options. But on each page here, we'll look at our artist growth grants. You've got your guidelines available, so very important to take a read of those. All of the dates that you need to know, and some other materials that you might want to look at, including a Word document with the application questions in case you'd like to work in there before pasting things into the grant system. Then I will take us over here under our grants help. We have, our workshops and assistance, and this really runs through all of the different ways that you can get some assistance with your application. We have grant support open office hours the second Tuesday of the month. You can come to our office in Marshall. Office hours for this are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you just want to talk through things or bring things along with you and work on your application while we're right there, so you can ask questions, that's an option. We have some grant Q&A sessions. You're taking part in one right now with our overview of what we have for the year. We do have some in-person sessions planned during the year too, so you can check and see if we are coming near you if you'd like to meet us there. You also can contact me if you'd like to grab some time on my calendar. You can do that right here if you want to talk through anything. And then we have workshops on each of our individual grant programs. And these are really helpful because they go a little deeper into the guidelines, and they'll walk through all the application questions and give you some more time to ask some specific questions about projects that you have in mind. So those are here for you to register for those workshops coming up. And then as we complete workshops, we'll be posting past videos here. These are the ones from our previous year, which if you don't want to wait for the upcoming workshop, could give you a pretty decent idea of what you need to know for this year as well. Also under our grants help is this credits and resources page. Once you are awarded a grant, you'll need to use some certain credit lines and logos in your marketing. Those are available for you here if you want to grab them this way. We also give you everything you need as well, but those are here, and just some sample documents that you might need to use in your application. So that is what we have for our website. I'll just point out some areas that you'll probably be familiar with. We have, again, our gallery. We're working on developing our directories of artists and arts organizations. You can take a look at opportunities in our newsletter. We have a link to our regional arts event calendar, a little more visible here. And then you can learn about what we are doing for accessibility and get some ideas for your organization as well. So that was just a quick tour of our new website. So you should be able to get a lot of questions answered there, but as always, you can email me or set up a call. We also are able to do a draft review for you if you let us know. There's a reminder date on that grant calendar document about 2 weeks before the deadline. If you can let us know that you have a draft ready, we can make sure that we are able to take a look at that and give you some feedback, let you know if you're missing anything, if anything sounds a little confusing. That can be a very helpful thing to take advantage of. So after you've gotten through all that and submitted an application, the first thing that happens is staff will do an eligibility check of your application, make sure you have everything you need to have and that there are no eligibility issues. If there is something missing or an eligibility concern, you will have 48 hours to fix that. And then at that point, that is staff's last contact with your request. We as staff don't make any of the funding decisions. We are here to help you have your best application that you can. So at that point, the applications from the round will be sent on to a grant review panel made up of individuals from around our region, and they will read all the applications and score them according to the criteria for each of our grant programs. You'll find those in our guidelines documents. And then they'll meet to discuss, have some final scores for that. And then at that point, your application may be able to get a few extra points. We have what we call priority points, which give a little boost to a few priorities that we have. If you are a first-time applicant to us, if you are from an underserved community, for instance, LGBTQ, Black, Indigenous, or people of color, or people with disabilities, that would be another point. And then thirdly, if you are from a county that has received fewer grants from us recently, that'll give you another point as well. So then once those priority points are added onto the panel scores, those final scores will go to our board of directors and they will make the final funding decisions, which is usually just going down that ranked list of applications until our budget runs out. After that, you will be notified usually within a couple of days after our board meeting, whether you received a grant or not. And then if you have received a grant, there'll be a contract you need to sign. If you are an organization, there will be 2 people from your organization that are going to need to sign the contract. And I should have mentioned before, as an organization, if you do not have your 501c3 yet, you can apply using a fiscal sponsor. So you would find another organization that is a 501c3 to act as that sponsor for you. They would receive your funds and be responsible for the project in general. But if that is the case, a representative from that fiscal sponsor organization would need to sign your contract as well. Then you'll receive your grant payment and you can carry out your project again with that an acknowledgement of funding, and we'll provide that information for you so you for sure have the right lines and logos that you need to include. And as you're doing your project, if there is something that is not going as planned, some kind of hiccup, feel free to contact us, and there's probably some modifications to your project that we can approve for you if you may need an extension or make some sort of change to things that you're purchasing. Please contact us and we will do our best to work with you to figure something out with that. And then once you have finished your project, you will complete a final report. And I always suggest to take a look at that as you're actually getting starting on your project, just to see what kinds of things you're going to need to pay attention to during that project time. So that is most of the information I wanted to run through tonight, so I can stop now for some questions. Feel free to either type into the chat, or if you would like to unmute and talk, you can do that as well.
Hello, Carolyn.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
I've just been debating some projects for myself and some individual artist grants. Just something I'm looking into because, you know, I have a million ideas, and without it having funding, it's hard to find the time to make my own art happen.
Right, right. And I should have mentioned under all of those artist programs, you can allocate money to pay yourself for that time spent on your art. So
excellent. Yeah, I think that about covers it for now. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, just let me know if you end up with some more specific questions, and certainly check out some of the other specific workshops too.